Welcome, Kristian Nairn, to Dragon Talk, everybody.
Yay!
Yay!
Hey guys, how you
How,
doing?
good.
I
How
am
are you?
excited about this.
Splendid, thank you. Yeah, not too bad.
We are excited about you playing Dungeons and Dragons for D&D Live 2020. That's coming up in, a week from tomorrow as we record this. Wow, that's soon.
That kind of flew
It's
in.
like, wait,
Exactly. And people know you, for many different reasons, but one of the most common, at least for Dungeons and Dragons fans, might be for playing Hodor in Game of Thrones, and you'll be playing a lot with your cast members. So
That's
that's pretty
right.
exciting.
I'm looking forward to it. It's like definitely haven't played Dungeons and Dragons with them before, and I'm not sure of their level of knowledge in the area. But I would like to think that my nerd points might be pretty high compared to them.
I think so. So you'll be
I
able to
feel like
school
you're
them.
gonna pick it up just fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been familiar with the. I mean, I used to read the books when I was a kid, and the books that you make choices in, and I
Hmm.
love those books. I love the sort of fantasy books where you choose what way your character goes, and super nerdy, like, but I love that. And yeah, you choose the outcome, and you get a different ending. And even when I was a kid, I used to do that. I never had enough friends to play Dungeons and Dragons with, so
Me neither. Me neither. At least ones that played.
I mean, I never had enough friends who were into it. I mean, until the advent of the internet, I really was the only sort of nerdy person in my group of friends.
Me too.
So, yeah, I used to talk to them about Space Marines and Warhammer, and they'd be like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Kids these days don't know how lucky they are. There's like D&D clubs at their schools now. Like there's, wait lists for kids to be able to play D&D. They have no idea. It was like to
The
want to play and not
school.
be able.
Are you serious? There's actually that is
Yes.
a
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
After
there's
school clubs,
it's very
love
lunchtime
different
that.
clubs.
from when it was in the
Yep.
80s where it was discouraged by authorities, but now it seems like schools are adopting it because of all the amazing things that it teaches, kind of without even realizing that kids are learning about how to work together as groups and respecting people with different backgrounds and skill sets in order to have a common goal. Like it almost it brings people more together than ever before.
I have to say, a little story. A very good friend of mine who I hope is not watching this. He occasionally watches my stuff, very occasionally. And I'm sorry, Sean.
Sorry,
Um,
Sean.
he was a super good WoW player, and he was like the guild's main tank. And he used the fact that he was raid leader on his job application form. And I know it's been people
Oh
who've
my
talked about
God.
that as like an urban legend, but he really did do it. And I don't think it went too well.
Just gonna say, did he get the job or not?
Did
I
he at
don't
least
think
get
it
the
went.
did he get an interview? Because I would love to
He,
like
he
hear him
did, and
talk.
he got to try and explain it, and that's where I would love to be a fly on the wall.
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah, and you tell these guys when to heal, and then GPS, yeah, go. And they'd be like, what? I just
no
want you to
no
do some
wow.
filing. I just want you to type stuff.
I don't feel like we are too far off in a world where you could put dungeon master on your resume and somebody would be like, "Oh, okay, so that means you're good with people, you're good at multitasking, you're good at crafting a narrative, like you can read a room and you're able to work with different types of personalities." I think that I could see that as being
Because it's no small task, and like, what kind of that's an amazing letterhead as well. I mean, you actually could put Dungeon Master as your title instead of
yes.
Mister or Mrs. You know,
Oh
what I mean,
yeah. Yeah,
DM there,
that would instead of an
DM there,
MD
and
at the
I'm
end, put a
quite
DM.
happy with that.
I like it. So what is your I know you haven't played D&D, but you've
Mhm.
been kind of involved in the world through friends that have played, so you're not
Yeah,
completely foreign to
you
it.
know, I played it as conventions before, like, like games amongst guests, and I never really. Obviously, you're in front of a massive crowd there, and you're not really soaking up as much as you really should. Um, But the whole, I'm a little nervous. I'm nervous because
Yeah.
I know there's a lot you have to really create about your character and stuff, and you really have to get into it. And I'm not going to have a problem with that, but it's as long as everybody else does, you know.
Yeah. Well, and you're going to be playing
Uh,
with. I mean, have you been in touch with some of your former cast members? Like, is this going to be a bit of a reunion?
Not about this, but
Not about D&D. You guys didn't get into
no.
group chats with everybody.
Yeah, I don't want to give away my tactics. You know.
Was that like
It's very quiet on the Eastern Front. Everybody's kind of been hibernating,
yeah.
which has been fun.
It's been interesting.
Yeah, my hair is longer and my beard is bigger.
Oh, that looks good. I like it.
Ugh.
It works.
Well, believe me, the minute anything opens, there will be bladed instruments attacking my hairs. I can't do it myself. I look like deranged if I do it myself.
Nobody should attempt that themselves.
It's
Did you do your
valid.
friends? Did you do your bangs?
No, they're
I'm
pro,
joking.
man. No way. My hairstylist, she made a house call. And
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, thanks. If you could,
You're welcome.
2 years ago, you would be like, yeah, A plus, A plus. So was part of the draw for you to join us for D&D Live, knowing that you were going to get to be with former castmates again, or did you say yes without knowing who you were going to be playing with?
I didn't know. I didn't know I was playing with classmates at first.
Oh.
I actually took the bait because one of my best friends is big into it, and he's constantly talking about it, and I really have got interested in it. And this all came along at a very strange time. Like, he just got his own set of dice, Stormforged dice.
Ooh.
He's got his own set of dice, D20s and whatever you call them. I don't know what you call them.
No, you're
D
right.
somethings. Is that right?
Yeah. No, the big
Okay.
one is the D20 that's got
10s,
20-sided
D20s.
die.
Okay. Oh wow, you have one just to hand there. I'm
Oh, yeah.
impressed.
We always have our dice handy.
We're ready to roll at a moment's notice.
I have a remote.
You never know when someone's going to say roll initiative. I like to be ready.
I don't have a dice.
Well, that's
Not
cool.
yet.
Well, I'm glad
Not
that your
yet.
friend inspired you to join up
Yeah.
and roll some dice with us.
Yeah, because he told me, it's that whole thing where Dungeons and Dragons people talk about the adventures they had as if they were real.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it can create almost like stronger memories and bonds between people than you're right, like than real experiences, quote unquote real experiences. And I've been to many a convention and talked to fans who have been playing Dungeons and Dragons since the 70s, and they will go through and be like, remember when we killed that dragon and doing that, or like when you were going across this bridge, and it feels like people reminiscing about war stories or something like that. It's so fascinating that this was only something that happened in their collective imaginations together, but they tell these stories as if they were these visceral experiences they all went through.
Yeah, that guy I told you about who sort of gave me the interest, he and I met in Warcraft, and I would say a good part of our friendship over the last 11 years, it would be in game. And some of the stuff we've done together and the people we've annoyed in PvP, it really, a lot of it has happened virtually. And I think it's a very modern way to start a friendship.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited.
Yeah. And this will be, a lot of people are experiencing, the isolation, the growing of beards and hairs and all this as we're doing this. But, the social connections do need to still occur in order for us to feel human. And so being able to do this through a webcam and interact with people in this way, Shelley and I have been doing this for a while with talking on podcasts, but, that's also a big part of what's happening right now is people joining up and playing Dungeons and Dragons, in the current situation.
Mm-hmm. Feeling human by being an elf.
Yes.
Yes.
And I love that. And do you know what I think Dungeons and Dragons really needs? A good movie.
Working on it.
Okay. Can we
and-
attach you to that movie right now?
Show me your checkbook. Actually, I would just
$1.
love that. $1, okay.
I can actually show you my checkbook.
It doesn't
Sitting
have
here at my
anything to
desk.
back it up, but
It looks
It's not-
bouncy.
It's not gonna
it looks
get far.
bouncy.
It's not even to get some craft services. But
Yeah.
No, I've watched all the. I mean, I've watched a lot of them. In fact, I watched one recently, and I'm a fan of the sort of straight to DVD, because I've been in a few of them movies. I can't slag them off altogether, but I think a really high budget and really set the world up like Lord of the Rings did. Put a budget into it.
Yeah.
I think would really be good.
Well, I mean, you could
I'm
almost
surprised it hasn't. Was it not supposed to be a Magic the Gathering movie?
there's an animated series coming from Netflix that has the Russo brothers attached to it for Magic the Gathering, which is super exciting.
I know also Brian Cogman, who was one of the writers of Game of Thrones. I think he was involved in it as well.
Oh, cool! That's awesome. Yeah, and I was just going to say you might even argue that Game of Thrones on its many seasons has done more for getting people primed for this type of storytelling, right? In a way, it wasn't a strict D&D movie, but
No.
or show, but it actually the creators have said that they were players and have been doing lots of games with our common friend Joe Manganiello in
Nice.
Hollywood. So a lot of the DNA is there for a weekly series, I think.
Yeah, I would love that. Please, someone do it.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? What do you think about the difference between doing a movie
Game-
versus a TV show for Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, I mean, everyone is saying the sort of the catchphrase of the minute is the golden age of TV.
Yeah.
And a TV show can really explore characters and go into more depth. But unless you're going to put a massive budget into it, I think because there would be a lot of special effects and I mean, I would like to see it done on a massive scale. So I think I would like a movie. Maybe a movie. Maybe do it like the Marvel Universe, and then spin off into high quality TV shows.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That actually use the proper actors from the movies and stuff. I think that's really cool. But yeah, I think a TV show definitely allows you to explore things that an hour and a half just can't. And I know that's why Game of Thrones was never destined to be a movie. The books were too complicated.
Yeah. A lot of detail.
Mm-hmm. And even we had to leave out a lot of detail as well. And even then, it was almost too long in some stages.
So have you started working on your character for D&D Live? I'm not sure how the character creation part for this is working, and you don't have to spoil anything. But
no, it's fine. No, they asked me did I want to be a magic user or I wanted to be like, and I automatically started telling a story about the background. You see, I'm a bit of a drama queen, and so I was like, it has to be a magic user. I mean, I like to play against my type in real life because people are like, oh, he's a big guy, he's gonna play like a tank, and I would like to play like probably a little 5 foot tall female elf sorceress.
Ooh.
yes,
Like why
that's
not?
what I like
I mean,
to play.
that's what fantasy's for. You know what I mean? And also different kinds of fantasy, but we're not going to that. That's catfishing. Anyway,
Playing Against Type is super fun. I enjoy it too because you never know what you're gonna kind of experience about yourself.
I have to tell you a funny story. Actually, I know I'm sorry to keep going back to Warcraft, but I remember all my history is in Warcraft. So I remember my first time I spoke. I was in this guild for like 3 years. And my character was like a blood elf rogue, female, and she was called Faye Dunaway because she had like ginger hair. And I remember we were doing Karazhan at the time. For anybody who remembers Warcraft, hi Karazhan, hi Warcraft people. And I joined the raid, and they're like, "Oh, here comes Faye. Hi Faye," and I was like, "Hello," and they respected me to be a girl, and they all kind of freaked out.
That's pretty funny.
I could have put it in a deeper voice. Hi there, guys.
How's it going?
So is that what we can expect?
Yes.
Like elf sorceress?
Yeah, she developed her powers when she was she was like almost like in a sort of mutant sort of way. Like she wasn't born with powers, or she was born with powers, but she didn't come out until like a traumatic event happened. And that's how she didn't study. It's all sort of naturally harnessed, and she's a bit of a wild card because of that, because she doesn't really know how to keep them in check.
Yeah, she's learning.
That's sorcerers. Yeah. Are you so there's a wild magic sorceress that every time you cast something, there's a chance that something you did not intend will happen on top of it. So you get to roll a die, and a random effect can happen on top of your spell. And so that sounds kind of right up what you're talking about there.
And you can select that right at the start.
Yeah, you can choose a wild magic sorcerer, and so
okay,
yeah,
that sounds perfect. Actually, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a thing.
And,
like that.
And the mutant thing is perfect also because there's this there's this idea that it's that sorcerers have power because of draconic blood, or like they're descended from something that was magical in the past, and so having it manifest later on in life is that's genius. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's good. I'm off to a good start. I like that.
Yep.
What does she look like?
I like the idea of magic being unpredictable anyway, because it feels like it would.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. I think it'll be a male sorcerer, because if I'm going to get into the RP element, I'm not going to do a high voice. So
not for 2 hours.
Not for 3 hours. I'll get all croaky. So I'm going to keep it a male sorcerer, I think. And what's he look like? I think he would sort of punky, sort of like Billy Idol sort of look. Sort of blonde, spiky hair, sort of some tattoos and piercings, probably.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's definitely not. He's not a sort of rich boy. He's definitely come up to the slums. Tell my own story here.
I really like how much thought you're putting into this character and this backstory.
I mean, why not go whole hog?
Right.
I mean, what's the point in going half into it? I mean, I intend to enjoy next Saturday, and and I also intend to play it again afterwards. So I'm definitely going to try and learn as much as possible.
Good.
Any recommendations? Anything? I mean, you guys are pros. Come on, how am I going to beat their asses?
You got to pick the right spells.
It's not all about winning, but I mean, it's creating a wonderful story, obviously. But I still want to win.
Well, I mean that's
up to your dice, unfortunately.
There's a lot of choice that you have in the amount of spells that you're going to be able to do. So the sorcerers have a little bit less of a choice. They'll only have 4 or 5 choices of things to do. So kind of like a WoW character, in that you'll have a limited amount of abilities that you can use, but you can use those really well and often. So that's where it comes down to, is figuring out, like, do you want a fireball? Do you want something that's a little bit more, like the fly spell, so you'll be able to fly around the battlefield a little bit more, or things like that. So a lot to look into there, but I know your dungeon master, Kate Welch, is going to do a lot of work with you and helping you figure out what's going to be the best, so that when you guys are playing all together, it's you're a well-oiled machine, and you have tactics that work well to defeat whatever she's going to throw at you.
I've known Kate that was another thing I was very happy to hear. I've known Kate for pretty much as long as I've been involved as Hodor. I've known her for years, and I just love her to death. She's like one of my favorite human beings on the planet.
Us too.
So yeah, she's awesome. So I'm really looking forward to playing with her and seeing how it goes.
Likewise.
She's such a good DM.
She was at my first ever convention, everything. She pops up at important times in my life and disappears again. But she's really cool.
This must be an important time of your life then, coming up on Saturday.
Well, I would need to be something. There certainly hasn't been much over the last 2 months.
I mean, seriously.
At the minute, an important time in my life is McDonald's reopening.
You don't have McDonald's right now?
It just reopened about 3 days ago.
We haven't been without McDonald's, thankfully, because my son wouldn't eat if that was.
I mean, It's been wild here. And the queues for McDonald's since it opened have been literally, there was one 2 miles long.
Wow.
Oh,
2 miles.
Did you wait in
oh
line?
my God.
I did not. I went to Burger King with a sad face.
Oh my gosh.
Such
Oh,
a
with a
poor
sad face.
substitution.
I love that we're throwing
Wow.
shade on fast food chains right now.
Oh no, I love Burger King. Oh my god,
They're so
No,
good.
Whatever.
They're onion rings. I'm into the onion rings at Burger King.
Anyone who has the gall to call their desserts a Diddy donut is okay at my books.
I
Is
wonder.
that Burger King?
It's a real thing. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's
Diddy
regional.
donuts.
I wonder if that's just in the UK.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
They
Now I
opened
forgot
first.
what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of
Moving on from fast food. Yes.
My husband said, "Oh, I've met him before at the Dubai Comic-Con
Oh,
a couple years
okay.
ago, and he was at your panel, and he said, and I even remember I asked a question. It was, how has Belfast changed since you grew up there till now when well till then when you were filming there in Belfast?"
Mhm.
So I guess
That
that
was
was a
a-
good question.
It was a good question, and I was glad to have such a deep question. You know, people think we want to avoid that type of question in a convention, but believe me, hello, it makes a nice change to have something to actually get your teeth into. Belfast. I mean, how can I put this? When I grew up, I don't want to be I don't want to be too dramatic because Belfast people are very resilient, and no matter what was happening here, we always got on with it. We always got on. We didn't shelter in place, and we didn't all this kind of nonsense. We just got on with our everyday life. We went to school. We went out to clubs and pubs where there was bombs going off left, right, and center, and people getting shot, and it was horrible. And I remember I went to catering college, and at least once a week, the building would be rocked by a bomb blast.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I've definitely been knocked off my feet by a bomb.
Wow.
That was fun. Because you get knocked off your feet before you hear the noise, because the force wave hits you first.
Wow.
And you're like, oh, and what was that? And then the next, like, literally half a second later, a massive explosion. So that's fun. But nowadays, it is probably one of the safest cities in Europe. There's very little petty crime here. So you're probably not going to get your handbag stolen. You're probably not going to get like pickpocketed as much as you would in another European city. And the people here are amazing. I'll always call Belfast home because they're, I mean, it's strange to say this, but their sense of humor is vicious. It's absolutely vicious. And if you take it the wrong way, it can be quite cruel. But it's just the way we learn to cope with things.
Yeah.
To be massively self-deprecating. And because we're so self-deprecating, we expect other people to go along with it. So if I can say horrible things about myself, I can therefore say horrible things about you. Not everybody gets that.
Yeah.
You know? Especially in America. But there are some people who get it, the massive doses of sarcasm. There are definitely some Americans who get it.
We try. Yeah.
Sarcasm.
Sarcasm.
English people don't get it either. And some of them do, some of them don't. Not to do a sweeping racist generalization of a whole nation.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew
in terms of sense of humor.
Right.
I knew a musician from Dublin, and he was very similar in the, you know, hey, I'm self-deprecating and deprecating at everybody at the same time type of sense of humor. And you know, it's a bit of adjustment. Once you go in with that, it is a lot easier to kind of understand. And you know, and that's, you know, it's so interesting to hear about Belfast. I mean, my only connection to that is U2 music. So
Yeah.
That's Dublin. That's
Yeah.
Dublin babes.
No, I know, but at least the Sunday Bloody
Duh.
Sunday
Yeah.
kind of idea of violence and how it cannot
I mean, I couldn't recommend it higher for a visit, and especially if you like Game of Thrones and natural beauty and castles and stuff like that. I mean, obviously they've capitalized on Game of Thrones now. It actually took them a while because we're bad at that type of thing, um, and and so we're kind of shy to show off our natural assets, and for some reason,
Well, you've
but
been self-deprecating for so long. It's kind of
exactly,
hard
it's like
now.
it's so we have
Turn that
we
up.
have a lot of the Game of Thrones locations and a lot of the extras now and stuff. They give tours and um, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And there's so many people come for those tours. It's been a really big tourist attraction.
that is cool. Yeah,
You
similar
must
to
And the
be
the.
thing,
all the time.
yeah,
You can't really hide who you are.
no, no, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I've always stood out, so I've had a lifetime's training. I've never been able to walk down the street without someone saying something or some making some smarmy comment or and just it's just a different form now, and I earn money from it.
Yep.
So it's like it feels the same, but people are cool. People are a 9 out of 10, maybe more than not, maybe 95 out of 100 are cool. You get the odd
Yeah.
person,
Right.
PG-15.
Is it the type of thing of like, can you just say Hodor for me, please?
I don't mind, man. I get it. I mean, it's the first time meeting me, or it's obviously I've done it 8,000 times, but I get it,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be an asshole about it. I've seen enough people in conventions being assholes about their former characters, and
Right.
I will try never to be that person.
Well, soon people will
Yeah.
be quoting whatever happens during your Dungeons and Dragons game back to you and your sorcerer character.
Yeah, whatever.
That's what should be known for. Hodor was such a beloved character. Like, what is that like
Yeah.
to like play somebody who's so ingrained now in this culture and just so loved?
I mean, I never expected it. I never expected it. David and Dan told me before I took the part. He was just like, just know that people will know you as this for a very long time, and you're going to be one of the main roles, and people are really going to identify with him, and they're going to love your character. And I'd sort of just read the script at this stage, and I just read a bunch of Hodors, and I was like, why? Why? It's kind of annoying, And then I got into the character myself, and I just fell in love with playing him. He just was a whole different mindset for me. But it's so very different to me in some ways, and some ways not very different at all. It was it's just a breath of fresh air, especially in the whole atmosphere. And it was a heavy atmosphere during Game of Thrones, and to get a little bit of sort of not comedic, but a little bit of innocence, a little bit of light. It was a nice change. I think it was. I appreciated that.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. There's not necessarily a lot of comic relief in that show, but if there was, you would be your character would be kind of top of the list for the most.
And people ask me all the time. They're like, "Are you going to be mad when someone, like in 10 years' time, says, like, oh my God, Hodor, and you're trying to do other things?" And I mean, there's sometimes when I'm a human being, I mean, and I always try to be as real as possible. So I'm going to say there's sometimes I'll try to put something out on Instagram, maybe about a charity or something, or a piece of music I've worked on, and I'll maybe get so many hits. You know what I mean? And if I just said the word Hodor, I'll get like 40,000. You know what I mean? And
you should just start all your posts off with Hodor.
yeah, I think
my
I'm
new
just
music, Hodor charity event coming up.
Yeah, I'm gonna live stream sawing my own leg off later, that sort of thing. And people are like, "Yeah, 10 likes." But then people say to me, "Are you gonna get fed up with that?" On the flip side, I mean, I've just played an iconic character and like probably like the show of our generation, and like, how could I be mad at that?
Yeah.
How could I possibly be mad at that? I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of it.
So how
Even the
much
last
did
season.
you? Yes. Um.
I have stuff. I mean, I didn't. I know it's so uh, controversial and so divisive, but I still enjoyed it as a piece of work. And I just don't think there's any way to finish that show without
No.
a band of angry people. No matter what we did or they did. Sorry,
Exactly.
it wasn't me. What they did. Um, people would have been mad.
So let's just make that very clear.
Yeah, it wasn't me. I left 2 seasons ago.
Did you know how? I mean, other than what you said, David and Dan told you about the character. Like, how much did you know about like what was going to happen, or when did you find out?
Absolutely nothing. I found out as the show progressed, and that's how I wanted it.
Yeah.
Um, it was a character so pure as Hodor. You don't want to know too much about what's coming because it could really affect how your body language, your facial expressions.
Yeah.
You know, it's just your whole character could affect it. So I wanted to know as I needed to know.
Yeah. But did you know your backstory? Or
No,
just like nothing. Like, okay.
I have my own backstory. I just made it up myself. That's the one thing I did ask George, but I think he knew that my backstory was important to what was going to happen, so that's why he didn't tell me.
Okay.
And also the fact that I've got a really big mouth, and I probably would.
Good to know. Okay.
Yeah, I probably would have told everybody, not by accident. Um, true though. Yeah.
Well, you
Does that
mentioned.
make it? Oh, sorry, Greg.
No, keep going, Shelly. My bad.
Sorry, I'm just curious. Like, does that make it harder for you as an actor to prepare for a role, not knowing so much, like knowing stuff's gonna happen, but not knowing what that stuff is?
It depends. As I said, it depends on the character. There are some characters that's beneficial to know what's going to happen. But I know quite a lot of the actors didn't read the books on Game of Thrones for that very reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know Michelle didn't know much about the Red Wedding like before that season, and she didn't want to know. You know, she knew something was going to happen, and but I mean, think about that. You know that's going to happen to your character. You know what's going to happen to your son. It might affect how you play the last scene you're with your son. You know, you might overdo it emotionally because
you're right.
You know what I mean? It's a weird it's a weird little setup. But yeah, a lot of people held back on the old information. But there are some characters like there are some characters that you need to know more about them before you get interested in them. You know.
Yeah.
But the characters in Game of Thrones are so well rounded, and yeah, you don't need to know too much.
Not to bring it back to D&D, but that does feel like, you know, how a lot of people approach making characters. Like you create a little bit of a backstory, just enough to kind of get the you know, the story moving. But it's so much more interesting when you find out a lot of that backstory through play and through storytelling, so that it all becomes part of the group is shaping it, not just one person, you know, furiously writing a backstory that they're going to eke out slowly over time, but that it becomes something that happens together. And that's why those memories that are formed are so strong.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You mentioned your music stuff, and I would be remiss in not saying that at least one executive at Wizards of the Coast was excited about you joining, not because of your acting career, but because of your DJ career. They're like, you know, being very excited about it.
There's definitely two camps. You know? Sometimes a crossover, but I definitely have two camps of people. That's awesome. That's really good to hear. Actually, thank you for telling me that.
Yeah. How long have you been doing DJing? Has that been something that you've been doing forever, or
20 years? 21 years now. Yeah, it was my job and my day job, well, night job, before Game of Thrones started, and I had this really weird thing that happened where, you know, when I was first cast in Game of Thrones, people did some like diligence on me, and he's a DJ. Oh my God, he's not an actor. It's going to be terrible. And this was all over Twitter and stuff. And then about a year later, it came out that I was a DJ and still DJing. And people were like, "Oh my God, he's an actor. He's going to be one of those horrible celebrity DJs."
Oh my God.
It was like you can't get a break.
Oh, I
still get that. Like after all this time, sometimes.
It's so ridiculous.
I just felt that you can't win. You know, I have enough time to do both, guys. It's okay. Don't worry about me. It's not like a brain surgeon and an astronaut. It's
Yeah.
you know what I mean. I didn't have to go to college for 29 years to be a DJ. But it doesn't happen so much these days. I've been really lucky to. I've worked with a lot of the biggest and best in the industry now, and like I have their support. And but I still get the odd tweet. It's like, oh my god, I didn't know he was a DJ. That's gonna be terrible. It's,
Oh my god.
oh, the joys of the internet.
It's always positive out there, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's all about your own self. Your own, as long as you have your core straight and your own self worth straight. There's not really much people can do to upset you. That's not me at all. I'm totally a rager.
I'm like, wow.
I'm trying to get all zen here.
I know. I was gonna say like,
I know,
oh, that's a good mantra.
Yeah,
great advice. But
I know. After I would get off the camera here and headbutt the laptop, throw it across the room.
I've been DJing for 20 years. So was Game of Thrones your first role?
On screen, yes. I'd done some stage work. I did musicals as well, but I used to do a bit of singing as well. But yeah, it was my first on camera dramatic role.
What kind of musicals? What anything we would recognize or newer stuff?
I did. I mean, not like a full musical. I was more like I was on cabaret and some songs from musicals and stuff. But I would have been like I did a lot of Andrew Lloyd Webber stuff, like Phantom of the Opera and some stuff from Evita.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm a big. I like the Jesus Christ Superstar. That's my
oh, that's great, man.
My favorite Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah, I'm so out of practice now. I was sitting on the way to McDonald's, funny enough, with my mother earlier, and I was just singing along to something, and she just turned around to me and said, "You used to be able to sing."
Oh, Mom.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much.
Oh,
was that the Belfast nature coming out?
No, my mom's very unfortunately, my mom's very truthful. So, yeah, very nice. On a Friday afternoon to have your dreams shattered.
Well, I still think you could pull off a Caiaphas, you know, the gentleman. You could do that low baritone, right?
That's a stereotype. How dare you? I can do
yeah, just your voice is very deep, right? That's that.
I'm actually not. I don't do a bass.
Oh, really?
Like counter tenor, or I can go quite high as well.
Oh,
or alto. Yeah, so.
My bad.
I'm not saying there's not a power on earth or in any sort of fantasy realm that can make me sing.
There isn't? You're not going to sing right now?
No, I'm not going to be a bard.
I was just going to say, maybe your next character should be a bard.
I can definitely kill people with my voice, according to my mother. So.
Vicious singing.
I know we were just talking in our last interview. There is a bard spell called Vicious Mockery, which essentially throws shade so badly at the monsters that they feel bad and take psychic damage.
No.
Yeah. So I feel
that
like
actually makes me feel bad.
I know. I feel like you're talking about Belfast and all that. Like I feel like that's like right in line with everything there.
Vicious Mockery.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that really works actually.
It's pretty fun.
I'd like to see it enacted in real life. Actually, that's a spell that needs to make it into the movie.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, I'm gonna go leave now. I'm a skeleton, and I'm just so mad at myself.
Like monsters being like, oh.
Oh my god, my robe is so last season.
I was trying to think of some good like your mom jokes to like these monsters. But...
I actually did that once when I played a bard that had that spell. I had a list of like Don Rickles insults and things that I was like, I would just use them as whenever I was casting the spells in game and role playing, and it worked out really well. Because you can't always come up with those on the own.
No.
Yeah, it's very hard to be able to rib people as well as you can. Experts can do that, but
Do either of you two DM as well, or you just play as characters?
Greg does. I don't. I want to, but I haven't. I'm too scared.
I know. I still have some of the leftover artifacts of dungeon mastering now in the world of webcams, and I have miniatures back here with webcams to be able to show it to my players and let them play.
Because I believe there's a lot of people who use props and like smoke machines and like all sorts of atmospheric tools during their dungeon mastering.
Yeah.
Must be hard to do over webcam, but I love that. I think that's incredible.
It really does. It adds with the immersion for sure. I mean, there's there's different schools of thought. You can definitely do it all in your imagination, and that's it. But if you have a physical thing that can unite everyone's kind of imagination on the same plane, it can be really, really helpful. And so, I've been using this webcam to it's like a tripod that's looking at the miniatures so that they can see it as well as my face and describing what's happening and make it all happen. So, yeah. And I haven't gotten into smoke machines yet, but now I want to.
Why not? Just get some dry ice.
Yeah.
I love that. That'd be so atmospheric.
We brought a lot of that to D&D lives in the past, when we've had them in physical events, kind of like the conventions that you're talking about going to, and showing off all that fun stuff does bring people into it. And so for this online event that we're trying to do here, we want to do as much as we can to make it happen. But for now, we're going to do imagination only. But you can show off art of what your sorcerer might look like or something like that. Do you draw or do any kind of art?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. It's actually one of the things I've discovered during this downtime. I used to draw a lot when I was a kid, and just for fun, picked up a pen, and I'm actually. It feels like it's progressed as if I've been practicing this whole time. It's kind of grown with my age. I'm able to do quite good stuff, and I've put some stuff on the wall in the house. I've framed some of it, and
wow.
Is that behind you?
Oh no!
Oh
no, that's from South Africa. No, it's not.
That's cool though. I mean, I think Kate would love that. I mean, Kate Welch bringing the visuals of something that you've drawn for your character. I think that would be super awesome.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Actually, I'll try and conjure it up in my imagination.
And then your mom can say, "You used to be able to draw." So maybe don't show her.
No, she's behind the drawing because it gets artwork onto the walls. So we've got quite a lot of empty spaces on the walls to fill. So this is a practical use for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I painted a horrible picture of my mother now.
Not at all.
She sounds great.
Yeah,
she is. She's awesome.
It was a good callback, Shelley. That's
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Nailed it.
Man.
Well, we are so excited, Kristian, for you to join for this D&D Live. Your game is going to be on Saturday, June 20th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. You can watch it on twitch.tv/D&D as well as on our YouTube channel. We'll be streaming live from there. And, I hope we gave you all the good advice that you might need for your character to craft it.
Well, I'm all the more excited. So thank you very much, guys.
Oh, good. This would be not Kate would be very angry if we made you less excited about that.
That's very true.
Thank God.
Well, again, thank you for joining us, and I can't wait to see you reunite with some Game of Thrones cast members, and it's going to be super fun. So thanks again, and it's all for a good cause, for Red Nose Day, and so that also just warms the cockles of my heart, and will hopefully get everybody in the D&D community just as excited about it as we are. So thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, stick with us for just 2 seconds as we just say goodbye to everyone who's watching. We are done. We're done with our recording session, Shelley. Let us sign off. You have one more recording thing that you have to do, but we are going to end our thing here. And thank you to everyone who was able to stick around in chat. And thanks again to Kristian. Thank you. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right.